Hi, my name is Tarek Gasmia, and welcome back to our video series on our NHC Seed-to-Sale integrated inside of NetSuite. This is a follow-up on our previous custom batches video where we showcased our nursery, growing and processing batches. Today we're getting into the nitty-gritty. We're going to be looking at how your product actually transforms, how we consume the components that we assign to it in order to create a new assembly, and how the value of your product increases as it goes through its natural cycle. We're going to be looking at bill of materials, work orders, and assembly builds to understand this. Additionally, I'd like to quickly show you two of our custom records. So we're going to be looking at a sanitation record as well as a QA record. I'd like to remind you that we offer you a free demonstration. If you'd like to see our NHC Seed-to-Sale and what it can do for your business, contact us either by email or by phone. With all of that said, let's jump into NetSuite. Wonderful. So here I am on my processing batch. And as per our last video, our processing batch was our final batch dedicated to track the final work order, which was a packaging work order. So pretty high level stuff. Before we get into the work order, we know that we're using this work order to package all our harvested watermelon. The assembly item, so our final item at the end of the day, is going to be our watermelon packaged. And the final quantity that we're going to be left with is a total of 2,000. Our units are in eaches, and you can see the status is built. So our work order was finalized. So let's get into that record. Perfect. So here we have a work order. It essentially authorizes your production team to manufacture a specific amount of an assembly item. In this case, your assembly item is your watermelon packaged. It also creates a sort of soft reservation for your inventory that is associated to this work order. So this notifies the users that this inventory, the components, are going to be used for this work order. And as I noted in the previous video, as your item transforms, it increases in value. So what's happening here is your assembly item cost is going to equal your total component material cost, which is, your watermelon, your label, your mesh bag, and your labor, plus any overhead if applicable. But in this case, I've added the labor outright. And naturally, all your components have a cost associated to it. So the work order essentially consumes that cost to create the new assembly item. So line by line here, we can see that we've used a quantity of 2,000 watermelons. We see the units right next to it. So in eaches, we've used 2,000 labels in eaches as well, and another 2,000 mesh bags that we do not track the cost of, plus 10 hours of labor to package all of this manually. Now, our label will have a cost associated to it, albeit pretty minimal, but our labor will have a higher cost associated to it as well. Now, don't forget, this is the last work order. So whenever you were doing the previous transformations, there were components that were consumed as well, which means our previous assembly item had a value which increased as we went on through the work orders, through the transformation process. Perfect. So from here, I think we can naturally pivot to our bill of material record. Hey, so one quick thing I glossed over during the video is the seed to shelf traceability. You do have the option to track your product by lot numbers. That's what we usually see in the ag space. Now, we're going to have a video in the future on inventory, so keep an eye out for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on BOM watermelon packaging right over here. On our BOM record, we're going to navigate to assemblies. When you're setting a BOM record, you need to tell the BOM, hey, what are you creating? So in this case, we created the final item, which is the watermelon package that's ready to go to our customers. And you have revisions. So each revision can have a unique set of components to create that final item. It can also have an effective start date as well as an end date. So let's open our revision record really quickly. So for my revision here, essentially I'm telling the system, hey, to have one packaged watermelon, I will need one watermelon, obviously, one label, one mesh bag, and a minimal amount of hours. Obviously, you can have the units here much smaller if you want to do it in minutes. In my case, I had hours as my base unit. But again, this is the revision that I'm using now. You might have multiple revisions for your organization. And the useful thing about revisions is that it also provides a historical audit on how your product evolved over time. So you can always look back to understand exactly what components you used, how much of that component you used to create a product. As another example here, I have a BOM record for planting yellow corn. If you look at the revision here, it's a lot different. We're calculating the assembly item per acre. Acres are really large, so the components are going to be much larger as well. In this case, you can see that we used 20 pounds of seed per acre, 45 kilograms of fertilizer, and so on. So this is very business specific. It really depends on how you want to track your product as it transforms. But ultimately, we have customers who demand a micro granular tracking of their product and others who prefer a straightforward high level view. So at the end of the day, it's completely up to you and your organization. So back to our work order for our watermelon packaging. Let's navigate to our related records so we can understand exactly what happened transactionally during this transformation. So the assembly build record is the transaction that officially creates my final product. It consumes the raw materials, so the components that we saw, and it increases the inventory of the new item that we created. In this case, the packaged watermelon. So if you look at the top right, you see the projected value of $33.83 and 52 cents. That is the final value of our finished product. So let's go visit our first work order to see what the projected value was back then. So this is our first work order. We had a projected value of 118 and 22 cents. And again, since this is our first work order, we know where the value is coming from. It's coming from those 4 components right below. And back to our final assembly build, projected value here is coming from all of the previous work orders, the previous transformations, all of the components consumed. Since this is a transactional record, you will have a GL impact tab. And when navigating to it, you'll understand exactly what accounts were hit. Perfect. So I'd like to just revisit our work order quickly so I can show you the sanitation record. If you navigate under the sanitation tab, you can create a new sanitation record for this work order. So you can think of it as a digital cleanliness log. Our sanitation record will make sure that your production areas like your nurseries or your packing sheds are properly cleaned and safe for operations for food and safety compliance. So on our sanitation record, you have a bunch of fields that you would find in a standard form. All organizations are different. So whatever field you want to create, you want to add to this, we can do it very easily. Whatever fields you don't need, we can take out. We have the work order 89 right there that's attached to it. So as soon as you create the sanitation record, it binds to it automatically. And from here, I'd like to go back to our processing batch. Just the final record I'd like to show you is the quality control record that you can attach to our batches. There's already one that's been created, so let's visit it really quickly. So the QA record is a digital inspection checklist. So it records quality checks like the seedling health, its size, just to ensure that the finished product is up to par. You have some information on the header level, but we separated a lot of them per tab. Information like your physical characteristics, analysis and inspection, and so on. Again, just like the sanitation record, whatever data that you want to see, we can add it here. And obviously, just like any other record in NetSuite, if you want to attach a file to your quality control record, we can do that here very easily. Perfect. So that concludes our video for today. We looked at the transformation process of a watermelon, both with our custom batches and the work orders. There's so much we didn't have the time to look at. Again, we serve the agricultural space as a whole, whether it's integrations from other software like John Deere into our NHC Seed-to-Sale, whether it's compliance where we can generate audit-ready reports, as well as advanced manufacturing within NetSuite, or even AWMS, depending on what your needs are. So if you'd like to see what our NHC Seed-to-Sale integrated inside of NetSuite can do for your business, all you got to do is contact us either by phone or by email. We'd be happy to talk to you. And with that, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.